I usually, yeah, say whatever you want, testing, testing.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Takes longer than you want, but. Say whatever you want, testing, testing.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Please. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of 1975, adequate notice of the meeting has been provided. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag play ball. Okay. You call the roll, please?
Sure.
Oh.
I got the sheet.
All right.
Okay, Jay,
Here.
Shane,
Here.
George A.
A.
Carol York. Carol Sick,
Excused.
Carol Six got excused, right?
she's excused.
Yeah.
Barb,
Here.
George W. Here. Jim,
Present.
Frank.
Here.
I don't see Ron Manier.
No.
He's absent.
Shane Myers here, too.
I got Shane.
Yeah.
Shane was number 2.
All right, take a look at the minutes from the May meeting. I'll entertain a motion to, after you finish reading, any changes, any corrections, any additions.
You looking for a motion, Mr. Chairman?
In a moment or two, make sure everybody had a chance to read the minutes. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion, Jay.
Have a second?
I can second that.
Second by Barbara. All those in favor?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, passed. All right, we got a lot of stuff to cover today. Shane, you want to talk about?
I just wanted to let the Shade Tree Commission be aware that I have asked the city to spend some money on some of the major sidewalk issues that we have throughout our town. And I know Jay would like to continue to keep the 50-50 rule moving forward. But I think there's some serious issues out there. And I think by the city spending the money on some of these major issues, it spreads the cost, you know, so someone has to pay for a major issue. It promotes it promotes safety, and also ensures that the trees are maintained and the sidewalks are fixed correctly. That way the tree's not harmed. Just wanted to bring that up.
What's your timetable for this?
Do you want to speak on this?
You can come up and talk now. Pardon?
I asked them to
Yeah.
bring this up at the beginning of the meeting. I had to leave early.
No.
Yes, that's the guy from Spicer Creek.
So in speaking with Councilman Meyer and Mayor Mullick, we put in for, if you probably saw last council meeting, the council introduced a new bond ordinance. Within that bond ordinance, not only do we have road projects and all the other different projects, but we have a sidewalk-specific project, and that we're going to gear towards sidewalk issues that we have in areas with tree problems, but also, you know, I'll say in our downtown area, just generally where we have a lot of uneven sidewalk, is to address those issues, both tree, you know, ones that are associated with trees, but then it'll be a city project, and you know, probably in the $500,000 to $600,000 project range. So that'll be able to do a lot of sidewalk repairs and stuff like that throughout the city. So that's the anticipation.
I brought up to Shane when we talked to him about it. we can continue the 50/50, right now, we can continue the 50/50 program, but that's only with trees involved damaging the sidewalk, city tree involved in damage, that's the way it sits now.
Right.
If the sidewalk is damaged, homeowner by construction equipment
Yeah, this
or
is-
just old age, shade tree is not involved in that, and there's no 50/50 on that. Okay? Now, the 50/50 program allows the Shade Tree Commission to get involved in this, that we can counsel or talk to the concrete person on ways to arc, hump over, use wire mesh and whatnot in order to protect the structural roots of the tree, as opposed to just cutting them loose, just cutting them. That way, we're involved in it, and we can.
The sidewalk project will be, take specific measures to preserve street trees.
Okay.
That's part of what the project will be.
Okay. And then, how are these locations come upon? Is it something that we would submit, or is it something code enforcement would initiate, or?
I'm going to work with code enforcement and just one of our project engineers to develop a scope and a target area. And my anticipation is this will be a routine thing. So you mean, we might hit one area a little heavier,
Okay.
but obviously with $500,000
Right.
of capital work, we can go quite a ways. So, I mean, the key is, we're not going to be able to do that isolated spot, one house over on Maryland that's by itself and isolated. That I'm going to refer back to
To the 50/50
to the 50/50
program.
program. But if I can go down Columbia Avenue for 3 blocks and hit a bunch of them that are in rough shape, that's what we're going to
Okay.
do with the capital program, is to do blocks at a time
And
where we
this is
have.
just going to be with concrete sidewalks? Like, so
No,
we-
concrete, slate,
Okay,
brick, and to go through and reset whatever we need to do. So it'll involve, because the concrete contractor is the same one, because what we'll do is, for the slate, we'll pour a concrete sub-base, and then they'll set the slate, usually, a lot of times they'll set the slate wet. Even.
Oh, Paul, you and Shane and Bill Code Enforcement, you guys are still developing this, aren't you?
Well, we're funding it through the capital project now. That funding doesn't become available until August. It'll take several months for our consultant to go out, survey the areas, and start doing that. So
So we'll continue on now
it'll
with
be-
the 50/50 program for trees,
Right.
for sidewalks damaged.
Or,
by the city.
or if you start getting some, like if you go out in your district and you start noticing, hey, if I'm looking at a certain block and then you look down the street this way, you look down the street this way, and you see 3 or 4 other properties that have uneven sidewalk and it's over a block or 2, then send me an email and we'll put it on the list that way. But that's, it's not going to be hard to go out and find work. So,
I think it's,
so if you have some priority locations, feel free to funnel those out, and we'll start doing it.
Can I ask a question, Paul? So the capital money will only address areas where tree roots have damaged the
No.
sidewalk, or even outside of the?
Even outside, yeah, this is not, I think a lot of the sidewalk issues are attributable to street trees, but not
Not
all the case.
Right.
A lot of the areas that, for a lot of the older slate, that's just uneven because of how the old slate was set, on a sand base, and it just gets, unsettled. So this will be to address those areas as much as, so it's not just a street tree issue.
And these funds have been approved already, or?
Well, council has introduced them, they have to adopt them.
Right, okay, so
at
it's still
the-
not in place yet?
It's still not, like I said, it won't be, by the time the bond gets approved, and then there's a 45-day estoppel period, the funds aren't available to award to a design consultant until late August.
Okay. And the range will be somewhere between 500,000 to 600,000?
That's my anticipation, plus or minus.
50/50 still stays in place, Jim.
Right, but none of this money is appropriated for the use of the 50/50 program. That's
No, this
separate from-
is,
Yes, totally separate.
when I walk up to somebody's property as the capital project, I'm not asking them for 50%. In most cases, I'm not just going to do one house at the location. I'm going to be doing a block, a half a block,
Understood.
3 blocks, or maybe 4 driveways that are in the same block on opposite sides of the
More
street.
concerned with the higher traffic areas, foot traffic, I mean.
That's where we're going to start our priority. So it's going to be starting, in where the more
Okay.
B&Bs, more,
Those two districts, I think, pretty much wind up between both Georges, right? George and you
Yeah.
guys have most of
so I mean, that's, obviously, we want to get to everywhere, but if we're going to start the concentration in, I won't say not the down, but in the higher pedestrian traffic areas.
That's what I was just going to mention, like Columbia Avenue,
Mm-hmm.
which is very well traveled from the mall all the way up to the water tower. And I do know several blocks there where the slate is horrific
Those are,
and dangerous. So that's going to be part of the new
That's-
plan. I think
that's-
it's wonderful.
that's what we're looking at.
They really do, a long time
And,
coming.
and the hope is to make this a continuous, this hopefully isn't going to be a one-time shot. I'll be, trying to incorporate this kind of a project in future.
Consultant is not a city employee, this is somebody hired outside of,
Well, I'm the city engineer, but I don't have enough time to
So-
to do that and
the
the.
consultant will be hired.
A hired consultant.
How's that going to go?
We have a couple project engineers that we put on retainer at the beginning of the year, and, we'll work with them to come up with a project.
That's part of the $500,000 to $600,000 budget that plays.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can probably figure 15% will come off of that number.
Very nice. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's wonderful news.
Shane, good job.
And then the other thing, looking forward as well, we're going to have Washington Street done, right? When is Washington Street going to be done?
Well, Washington, we're going to pave Washington Street.
When is that going to happen?
This is going to be in the fall,
In the
but that
fall.
doesn't really have any sidewalk work
Right.
alongside of it.
But I think moving forward, when we do road work, we should probably consider sidewalks as part of this project.
A lot of times we do, I mean, Washington, I think the intent of paving Washington was, we had Lafayette Street done, so we were trying to, I think, get the whole stretch of Washington done to kind of have the 2 main drags in and out of the city kind of all freshened up with new asphalt. But I do agree, in most times of the different, if you look at when we did work on Congress Street, Franklin, Trenton, those are the other projects we did this year. We did the infrastructure, new curbs and sidewalks where needed, and paving. So yeah, typically we would.
Cool.
During repavings, typically curbs also get replaced, right?
Yes, as needed. I mean, there may be,
Curbs, as we know, a lot of the existing curbs especially, and also the newer ones, pulling the old ones, almost like pulling a molar. I mean, they go down very deep sometimes, and would there be any impact on tree roots, or is that considered when they're doing?
it's considered.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be back,
Well done,
because I have a little bit of stuff for you.
Okay.
well done.
Okay, we have a proposal on here from Matt Notch to water the 30 trees that have been planted here recently, once a week until September 21st for $4,800. And the city Public Works then referred it back to us. And then again, it's in this capital improvement money, Paul? In this capital improvement money, is there any money in there that we can get Public Works, a carboy or a water tank or something with the vehicle to haul it to go and water these trees? I mean, we can go ahead now and look at this $4,800, which is a kind of an extraordinary expense, but these trees need water. We're in the middle of a drought right now, and these trees, these 28 or 29 trees that we put in, are not going to survive unless they get water once a week, like starting now. So it's that and some sort of a vehicle to take it. Now, we're going to be planting trees hopefully at least once or twice a year, and so the water tank like this would be used on the, summer. Yes. Yes, yeah. Yeah, generally, we try to plant in the fall, but the timing this year worked out that we had to take
Yeah,
it
they were-
when we can get the tree and when Matt Notch could get them in the ground. So, but there's something that can keep in mind, because I don't want to have to do this every year, but if we have Public Works had a adequate vehicle or a vehicle with a water tank on it, to plant it. This would also be used for the flower gardens the city has all over the place. So this could be used for that, too.
And just to clarify, we typically do a fall planting or a very early spring. This was supposed to have started in February, and things got pushed around and rescheduled and shuffled and ended up being put in when they were put in. And unfortunately, when that happens, we tend to go right into a drought by mid-June down here. So it's not the first time, but it's the first time in quite a number of years that we've planted this late in the season, so that's not typical.
And George, you consulted with Matt on this list. Right?
Yes, he's actually coming in.
Oh,
So,
You were just
Public-
being
Matt,
addressed.
we're on your agenda item.
so Frank, Public Works is not going to pay for this, right?
I can't speak on the budget right now. I don't know what the supervisor's going to have done on that. I don't know. I can't answer that.
So we have to determine whether we're gonna hire Matt to do this at once a week until September 21st.
What alternative do we have?
That's it, the trees. We wasted all the money on the trees.
Well, Matt is here, so I wanted to just ask him a couple questions, I
Matt,
think,
you
but you
wanna
have to
come
come
up to
over,
the-
if you don't mind. Just so he could, no, perfect timing.
It's called economy of time.
And you have to turn that on.
Press the button till it turns green, there you go.
So my question is, when I spoke with you, and I believe it was also in the email, it said 1 or 2 times per week of the watering. Did I misquote that amount?
I would suggest at least once a week.
So your proposal is for, this would cover once a week watering or twice?
Once a week,
Okay.
watering for 16
Yeah, it says
weeks,
16
whatever
weeks.
I had on
Yeah,
there.
I just wanted to make sure it was only
We
once.
started last week.
Yeah, okay.
Can I interject with a quick question? Why did we not incorporate those bags, the drip bags? I don't know exactly what they're called.
Well, we've talked about that before, and there's,
PGs, yeah.
they can work at times, but you have to religiously keep those bags filled. And if not, you're just creating a heat barrier around the
So
tree.
how often would the bag typically need to be filled?
Once a week,
So he'd still be visiting once a week regardless?
yeah.
We did that last year with all the tree plantings in the borough of West Cape May, and they worked pretty well, but you're filling the bag up once a week exactly, and it percolates slower through the holes, so that's like the theory. But when I watered the trees last week, we took our time, and it takes time, like, to do it right with the hose, because you got to do a slow drip,
Yeah.
or it just runs
Right.
off. We also, when we planted the trees for Cape May this year, we tried to make a berm around each tree, just building the soil up, so there's
My neighbor had
pool
one
there,
planted,
and then
and
we
I'd noticed it, yeah.
And complimentary, I would probably just mulch the trees in my visits, because I have a bunch of mulch in my house. We did that in West Cape May, so as I'm watering them, I'm just gonna probably put some mulch down, because that'll help hold moisture in there for a few days for sure.
Okay, my main question for the bags was just as a cost-saving measure, but it really wouldn't be because you'd still be visiting the site once a week regardless.
And gone are the days when they would take the bag that would go all the way up the trunk and fill that bag. Now the bag sits down at the
At the base.
base of the tree to avoid keeping the trunk wet 3 or 4 feet up the tree. With the old bags, right?
And you don't create that heat barrier.
You don't create the moisture against the tree trunk. So are we in agreement that we'll go ahead and authorize Matt to we'll spend the $4,800 and authorize Matt to do the watering of the trees
Where is the 4,800 coming from?
from our budget?
From
someplace?
our budget?
We'll save the trees.
Roughly what percentage of our budget is that?
What percent is?
Yeah,
have to
roughly what percentage of our budget? Does anybody know the budget
I-
number right now?
I don't, I honestly
Your
have
budget,
that.
you got the budget in the thing, we got money left.
I haven't billed for the planting yet either,
No.
FYI.
Well, just to put my opinion into it, if we're going to pay that much money out for trees, and for planting, to just have them sit there and wither.
And die.
And die, what's the point?
Exactly.
Doesn't
It
make
was
sense.
just a
Actually,
wasted.
there is a
I
decent
agree.
amount of money in the budget. I
Yeah.
didn't look, my mistake there,
But then we also pay for trees.
You need a motion,
too,
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
which could be lost.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I-
I'll
now
entertain
that
a
I'm
motion
looking, I
to
think that's-
approve.
So moved.
That's doable.
I have a second.
The other.
Carol seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, you're authorized then to go ahead and do it, start doing it.
Thank you.
The sooner the better.
Yep, once a week.
Okay. Less, now the monsoon is gonna come for us.
Correct. Yeah, and I mean, if there's a week where it's raining all week, I'm not watering. If we're in the middle of summer, it hasn't rained for a week, I might be in there 2 days a week. I just had to work up an estimate, a minimum
Right.
once a week.
Right.
So there may be a week that I skip, I'm gonna be honest with you, if it's raining every day, why would I water? But if we're in the middle of summer, it doesn't rain for 2 weeks, I'm gonna be in there probably twice a week.
Okay,
So I think it'll all average out, and I'll keep track of the numbers.
all right.
Yeah.
What do you anticipate for your first watering?
Last week we started.
Oh, you already started?
Yeah, it's dry. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you,
Thank
Matt.
you.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, man.
Okay, Mr. Crowley? There we go. Spicer Creek, right? Yes. So what did the board say?
Well, we had our meeting,
Turn that on, press the green button, there you
Yeah.
go.
we had our HOA meeting on Memorial Weekend, and the proposal that was shared with you guys, and we appreciate all your responses, was approved. So we would like to schedule the removal, which I believe the city's responsible for.
We'll remove. You're gonna pay us $75 a tree.
Right, and
Times 20 trees.
well, right now, there's only 18. But
Okay.
that's okay, 18, 20, no big.
What happened to the other two?
They were never there.
Well, then,
I miscounted.
okay, then
Phantom.
18 trees.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and schedule Manir to begin removal of these trees after after Labor Day weekend.
Whatever the recommended time frame is, I assume sometime in the fall, so it can
Yeah.
have a chance to root and do its thing
Okay,
before
and
winter.
you understand that they don't have any machine or any equipment to pluck the tree out of the ground that's been in there for X number of years
Right.
and plant in that hole. They'll cut off the tree, dig down to where the stump is basically removed or down below ground level, and the new tree would go into the left or the right.
Okay. I will leave it to the experts.
But
to
you
decide-
understand that that has to be that way because there's nobody I know of that has the equipment to pluck a tree like that
Yeah.
out of the ground.
I'll leave that to the pros.
So they'll cut, grind, and then the new trees, when they go in, you dig a hole to the left or the right.
Okay.
And you're gonna give us a list of the type of trees you put in. I suggested, I think at the time, you don't use all the same kind of tree.
Right.
And no maple trees, which are in there now, right?
Right.
So
Like-
I would say, yeah,
We did discuss two different tree species
Yeah, we
as
did.
and being more aesthetically pleasing, and it wouldn't give a monoculture. Perhaps like a sweet bay magnolia and then a hornbeam, a sweet bay, then a hornbeam, and alternate it that way, if that's what you like. But you're more than welcome to choose 3 tree species, would even be better if you
Fine.
like.
Fine. Well, the next step for us would be what? To schedule something with the city? I mean, what's the next process?
probably we'll get or issue order to Manir
Okay.
to remove the trees, remove 18 trees, okay, in the Spicer Creek. Can you have someone go and red band or red tag the trees?
Sure.
You
Sure,
know, just put a
absolutely.
band around them.
It's my understanding that our landscaper, who does a lot of our work in our community, is familiar with your city landscaper, and they may have even chatted about this project.
Yeah, I think
So, well, I'd like to let those guys coordinate that together.
Okay, all right.
That way, everyone's on the same page from the beginning of the process.
Okay, after this meeting, we'll authorize Manir to go ahead in Spicer Creek and remove 18
That's what
trees, 18.
Okay.
We have to at least refresh my memory, and I don't have any files with me. The trees that will be then put in place, are we going to provide those?
No.
Or
No,
the
it would
homeowners
be-
association?
Per the letter of
Okay.
March 12th, it would be the
That one.
HOA's responsibility to source and
Okay.
plant.
Okay,
The city is only responsible for the removal,
Removal. Okay,
at the $75 per.
right. That's in your district? so-
Yes.
Yeah.
Being that we were on the subject of watering, homeowners association, do you have some type of a crew that might be able to look into watering the trees once they open?
Oh, my gosh, I can assure you, we'll be all over it, because, number one, we're going to be investing a lot of money
Right.
in this process, so we've had discussions about that, that the idea would be planting in the fall. It will give us some time to hopefully get the tree established, and many of the locations are already part of the irrigation of some of the homes.
Okay.
I can't tell you how many, but
Right, right.
a proportion that are. I suspect there's a proportion that will need some attention to detail, and we'll factor that into our ongoing costs.
Beautiful. Okay, thank you.
I guess that's all for now.
Okay. Good, I'm glad, thank you for coming to us, and thank you
Thank
for
you.
your working with us on this.
Yeah.
Just let us know the types of trees you're going to put in there.
Certainly, certainly. Thanks again.
It all
Okay, thank
sounds
you.
wonderful. Great.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Would you please notify Ron Manier that we got approval for start removal after Labor Day? All right.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Going now.
what else we got? Hey, yes, come on up.
Thought you escaped.
Nels, it's good to see you again. It's been a long time.
Good to
Press
see
the
you.
button. Say,
I just did. I
All
just
right.
did. Turn my phone down. It's all good. Anyway, my name is Nels Johnson. I'm with the New Jersey Board of Tree Experts Commission. I'm a compliance officer. I handle Cape May County, Salem County, Atlantic County, and all the, as far as I can go. My main goal is licensing.
Right.
And to explain that, as Matt well knows, each tree company, private tree company, has to be, have an LTCO, which is a licensed tree care operator or a licensed tree care expert with the business, and that entails 32 hours of CEU credits every 2 years, whether it be chainsaw, safety, climbing, first aid, tree care, pesticides. And my goal, my main focus is to go out and make sure all the companies are compliant with regards, so I'll give you an example, Matt Manier's Tree Barber, which was my ex-company for 23 years, helmets, eyewear, ear protection, when cutting big trees, chaps, safety chaps, harnesses, chocks for,
Do you go into insurance and?
yes, yeah, I can do notice of violation for about 10 different things.
More inside than outside, so you do both inside and outside.
Yeah, well, I can go down the list. One is business and licensing. If the company, I can look up, number one, from a license plate reader to see if, who they are first. Then I go into my database, see if they're licensed. And trust me, there's quite a number of unlicensed tree companies that don't want to conform. It's that overreach of government. But the Board of Tree Experts Commission is an autonomous organization backed by the DEP. And we do have, not that we have used it, law enforcement capability. That's the last thing you want to do. So business and, I feel like standing. So, like, to give an example, if I go out and I know they don't have a license, I go and I will send in a notice of violation to the office, we'll send a register return receipt saying, you need to get licensed or there's a fine. The fines range, could be 500,000, depends on what the issue is. The big one for me with licensing is, for licensed companies, personal protection. And, helmets, all the safety gear, harnesses, and there's another one, safety. If I go by and see a company doesn't have street cones out, doesn't have wheel chocks, parking that happens a lot. Parking a giant truck on the main thoroughfare where you can't even see to get out of a area. So, and then there's standards. I can violate for pruning or bad pruning, topping. It depends. Even the city licenses, obviously, you have to have a permit to take a tree down or remove, or in the city of West Cape May Borough and Cape May.
To remove a tree.
Yeah, so-
Not to come in and trim a tree.
No,
And there's
no.
nothing in either West Cape May ordinance that I know of, or Cape May ordinance to prevent topping of a tree, other than you should know that it's not good for the tree.
Right, well, and that said, what's the standard, 20%? I mean, if someone goes below that, now remember, sometimes the homeowners will say, I don't care. But if I go by and I see a sign, I see him, I can violate him for that. Because the tree is a compromise, it could die.
Right.
I'll give you an example, I was up in Egg Harbor last week, and they use spikes to trim a tree. They spiked the tree. Yeah, and so, but there's a lot of companies that are unlicensed. That's where we're going. There's only 5 inspectors in the state of New Jersey, covering over 1,000.
So our inspectors, our commissioners go out in their districts and they see somebody with no numbers on the truck.
Yeah.
They should call code enforcement or call?
No, you call me. I think everybody has, or I've had more cards. I've given my cards out. It's easier just to text me or call me. Look, I don't want to get into a situation where people are taking a picture of somebody. I do enough of that. Trust me, they go, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
So we should call you if we got any suspicion.
Yes, absolutely.
That somebody's operating in Cape May without a license.
Yeah.
Or without the numbers. All the trucks, all the vehicles on a site should have the license.
They should have an LT, a license number, and same for ads. Like I kind of look at the Shopee and see there's people, they have to have the LTCO number.
Yeah, they usually put them in there.
Yeah.
On the Shopee.
Yeah.
They
I go Facebook. I check Facebook a lot, and I find because I'm trying to find companies, and it's really like a needle in a haystack.
There was a instance about a month ago, 2 months ago, where some company came in and flooded the area with flyers.
That's Captain's.
Pardon?
Captain's or no, Fred's.
Freddy's.
Fred's. Now that's okay, given you're not supposed to put him in the mailbox. But I did write him up because I got the flyer in my house. He didn't have his licensed tree care operator, but he is licensed.
In the state of New Jersey.
Yes, he certainly, and he's
Was
got.
he licensed to operate in Cape May?
No. You still have a separate license for
That doesn't cost
landscaping?
anything, does it, Connie? It does. I think it's just,
No,
pardon? Does it?
Nels, where does your responsibilities start or end, and our code enforcement guys start and end? Now, do you guys coordinate activities? When you swoop into here, you call these guys and say, hey, I'm in town today?
No, because I live outside town, so it's more like if code enforcement sees somebody they think are doing something wrong, it's not a big deal for me to drive 10 miles, 5 miles to see, one, are they licensed? And a lot of times I'll stop and talk to them, hand them literature, like electrical lines, power lines, stuff like that, just talk to them about safety, and then be on my way, and just let them know I'm there. So, but what I'm trying to do is, I have a bunch of companies that help me up in Egg Harbor, Salem County, because that's an hour and a half drive, and I am driving around. Trust me, it's beautiful country up there. It's amazing. They're not easy to find, and you can go on to Yellow Book or Facebook, but rarely do these companies have their address and their work address where their trucks are stationed. But it's more like use your judgment. It's not a big deal for me. That's what I'm paid to do.
Okay, so you guys,
Yeah, I'll give you.
Because the big thing is, a lot of times I can be there in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
If there's an issue, I would love to be
Now, with that being code enforcement, if if he sees, like, say I can't get there and I'm somewhere, if you take a picture of the license plate and a couple of pictures and get them to me, like of the truck, because you're code enforcement, so you have the, you're like,
That's
hey.
what, that my concern was,
Right.
you guys.
Yeah, we'll hook up after this, but I'm trying to get to these municipalities that have good tree regulations, to say, hey, here I am, let's clean this up. Matt knows. I mean, and the other aspect of it is having to go and do 16 hours of credits every year and pay, it's only $200 every 2 years, but you got to carry workman's comp, got to carry liability. Some of these companies don't. So everyone's doing it the right way, and a lot of them aren't doing it the right way at all. But I can also, if you write somebody up for not having a permit, I can write them up as well. I have that capability. Okay? But this started in 2017, and it took 15 years to enact. That's when it started to oversee, because so many people were getting injured or killed, sucked into chippers, arms,
Really, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just did a chainsaw safety for Department of Public Works in Atlantic City. It was quite informative, and these guys, they understood how dangerous it is. It was kind of eye-opening to see how well they received it.
At the October Tree Federation meetings, do they have classes in there? They get the certificates and whatnot for some of the.
For the CEUs? I don't know. They probably do. As long as you go and you check it out. Most of the time, they will give you the CEUs
Right.
for that, because there's a lot of shows like Atlantic City and, there's a lot, yeah. So I would always check to make sure, because you don't want to sit there for 3 hours and get a couple of credits and find out they're no good.
Right.
Yeah. So, any other questions?
Nels, your violation summonses are backed by DEP, did I understand that?
Yes,
correctly?
yeah.
Backed by DEP. Okay.
Yeah, with the other aspect of that is, we'll work with the person that gets a violation. To give you an example, I won't name the name, but there's a young guy that works out of Cape May or out of Lower Township, Irma. He's got right now $5,000 worth of fines, and I keep trying to get him to just
Armand's,
no, but keep an eye out for him.
yes. He works a lot in Cape May Point.
Well, yeah, and I'm going to hit Cape May Point up too, because, yeah. But they, I'm trying to work with them and say, you wear all the safety gear, you're really good. I mean, you're missing some equipment, but, we'll work with you on the fines, just get licensed. And sooner or later, you're going to get a lien put on you, and then a notice to appear in court. Now, the court thing does take time, ANACAPA. So that's not what we're trying to do.
I explain to people that working with, the advantages of working with a licensed
Yeah.
and registered tree care person, that protects the homeowner from liability if one of the employees of this company gets hurt on the job. It falls on the homeowner that hired him, really.
Yeah, and yesterday I ran into Captains. They have advertisement in that ShopRite flyer, and listen, they have really good equipment. They have cones, they have safety stuff. And yesterday I came up, guy didn't have a harness on in the bucket, so I wrote him up. Now he's not going to get fined. If he remediates it and writes back, I will have. And I gave him a picture of the harness and the fall arrestor that you have to have. Because, and I tried to tell him the story of a local tree company 8-10 years ago. The guy got fetched up 50 feet in the air and got thrown out of the bucket, landed on a pile of logs, and took him a couple years to learn how to walk and talk and eat again. So that bucket's just not the safest thing, So, but the next phase, and it's probably a few years away, will be strengthening, is to go after violators that they're working on this in the New Jersey State Senate. It takes time, as you well know, to shut people down. But I don't foresee that for a few years, because that's another mechanism.
Right,
And there's a complaint from some of the good guys saying, you guys, how much teeth do you
Yeah,
really
they're Working
have?
hard and paying the fees and
Yeah.
taking all the courses and buying all the equipment and everything else to be undercut by
Yeah.
somebody who,
Yeah, so, any other questions?
all right.
And
Thank you.
I'll get with him, okay? Yes.
3 strikes, they pull your license, or is that what you're getting at? Not really.
3 strikes?
3 violations?
No, trust me, people have multiple violations. They have multiple violations, and alls it takes for the violation, if I write somebody up, like, give you an example, captains. They get a form from the office after I email it to them, and I send pictures in. And they say, he gets the violation, and all he has to say is, I will have a guy wear the harness, and you're done. If you don't respond, then it's $500.
Okay.
So that's how it works. There's no strike 3.
Yeah, we don't, our ordinance does not call for
Yeah.
3 strikes, 3 violations and you're out, like West Cape Maze does.
Yeah.
We opted not to, I think we opted not to put that in there. But,
Yeah, so, anyway, any help I can get from the tree, from, Shade Tree, I mean, even if you're not sure, it's not a big deal, unless, and usually I'm around. It's,
Right.
don't feel, I'm not sure if I should call you.
Right.
Or you can call me and say, hey, this is, I may know who they are, and I could tell you right over the phone, yeah, they're licensed or not. So, and yeah, any help, and then, like I said, I'm gonna make sure I talk to West Cape May and up the road, working my way up to the other.
So take your cell phone cameras with you when you go out on these things and be able to take,
Yeah,
take your cameras with you when you go out and be able to take pictures of these vehicles and whatnot.
yeah. And then that's quick. If I see it, I can just go, yeah, they're fine. I mean, but then again, I may see that picture, it may not have protective gear on, or, it doesn't take. And just to close, I know you have a lot going on here. In 23 years, I had one guy get hurt in 23 years. I mean, we get stitches or you get nicked up, but I was on a job in West Cape May, and everyone was wearing helmets, and the one guy wasn't. I said, put your helmet on. He put his helmet on. He went, it was under a little tree. The bucket operator was 50 feet in the air. He came out of the tree, and he had thrown a 3-inch caliber about 8 feet long. 3-inch caliber, hit him in the head, cut his head, knocked him out.
Oh, wow.
Now I had to have him, you have transported, but, and he didn't get hurt that bad, but, that could have gone through his neck.
Right.
That's how fast and how much velocity.
Right.
So that, I'm proud to say that in all those years, nobody got hurt on my watch, but it's good to see, like Matt, Top Notch, Meniere's, Tree Barber, all the other companies, like, now they know I'm here, and look, nobody wants to wear stuff, it gets hot, but,
Yeah.
now I don't have to worry about these guys, I just work my up the coast.
Right.
Okay?
If anybody in the Shade Tree Commission wants to wear a military helmet, I have supplies.
I'm not surprised.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very
Now-
informative.
Let's see, we got anything else on here?
1102
Now, don't
Lafayette,
forget to
I
get-
think that's why,
Bill a card.
Oh, ID
Matt,
card, we
yeah.
got, you have a small supply of calling cards.
Yes.
You'll be able to give those out too. As you give these out, you can put your number on the cards if you wish. If not, have the calls being sent, have calls for action and whatnot be sent into Conchetta, into the secretary. But when you run out of those, contact her for more. ID cards, anything more on ID cards for everybody?
What I sent you. They're working on it.
Working on it, okay. Yeah, my ID cards, I still had a lot of hair. It's so old.
I've got a couple things for you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
This is part of the plan that we're doing at the
Franklin Street? No.
Oh, my goodness.
So we're resurfacing the City Hall parking lot,
like,
and as part of that, I would be relocate one tree and possibly remove 2 smaller ones. So in order to add, I think we're adding, we're adding 8 new spots here at City Hall, which if you came to meeting today, 8 new spots would be very helpful for parking at City Hall. So there's the larger tree, you can kind of see it in red, that's kind of on behind the Historical Museum. It's a maple tree. Good-sized tree. I'm looking to call for that to be tree spade and moved across the parking lot to the green area up closer to the old school library and that new landscaped area that'll be created there. There are 2 smaller trees. I think one's a maple that's been topped, but it's kind of half growing out, and then there's a smaller tree to the right of
You're
it.
talking right by the Menachem Hughes house, right?
No, I'm talking about behind City Hall here, by the Acme.
Where are the trees?
The 2 that are going to be removed are behind that, kind of like on the rear of Acme, where if you see where that earlier this year, we had 3 trees, the 3 dead trees that were removed.
Yeah, the
There's
one-
two smaller trees to the right of that,
Back-
closer to the library.
Back
Those,
of the library, right?
Well,
You
back-
removed the dead trees.
I removed 3 church,
Right against the shopping center.
right,
wall.
and there's 2 more there that we're going to have to remove as part of this project.
When are you going to start this, Paul?
This will most likely be in the fall. So what we'll do is, we're going to try to move the 1 tree across the lot, and then in that landscape area, we'll plant a new tree. So we'll have a new tree there, and then we'll find another tree
So
somewhere.
You're not going to interfere with the memorial tree, which is right between the parking lot and the new.
You're talking about the memorial?
That was, that
Pin
tree
oak.
was,
You're talking about the pin oak that's there?
yeah, that tree was dedicated to the former
No,
secretary.
I'm talking about the area that's on the plan that I've given you.
And these trees that are marked out in green, they're going to remain?
The ones in green, yeah. The other one I'm moving is the one in red, that one maple that's kind of in the back. That'll get moved across the drive aisle. The 2 smaller ones, obviously, adjacent to the 3 that we removed earlier this year, we're going to be removing them. We'll replant 1 tree in that grass area that's kind of behind the Historic Museum, the Hughes house, the old colonial house. And then we'll find another spot to plant.
And just so I can
Another
get
tree.
my reference here, what is this other green area? This
So
sort of
that'll be a newly created landscaped area. In other words, you can kind of see, like underneath that, where the red curb is now. So
Yes.
it's kind of, that's where the drive aisle is now. So
Okay.
essentially, we're moving that drive aisle that's there now, moving it closer to the colonial house
Okay.
in order to put the row of parking, like where the police park, we're going to extend that parking down
Okay.
to add the additional spaces.
Okay.
So that's one project. So I wanted to kind of
Okay.
update the shade tree on, since it involved moving trees and
Right.
removing some trees. So at this point, there's going to be a net loss of 1, but I wanted to give you an update on the Franklin Street project. And unfortunately, I don't have enough copies for everybody because I literally just got this 15 minutes before walking into this meeting. But I know there's a lot of concerns. I know he walked the street
Right.
with George. So happy to show you, we'll be planting 5 new trees on the street. I think we'll be removing 1. So where the CCA house is today, there's 2 trees out in there. If you've noticed, one has been recently hit during the construction of that. One that got hit, it's bent over.
It's gone.
And
That's gone, that tree.
Yeah.
and that's, which was good because of where the driveway is. The original plan that you probably saw had the driveway towards the opposite side of the AME church, would have required both of those trees to be removed. But I flip-flopped the design with the help of the property owner next door, and so we're going to be able to save and not have to replace that existing tree.
The larger one, yeah.
The larger one. I mean,
So
it's not a beautiful tree, but
No, but
it's a tree nonetheless, and so we're going to be able to save that
Yeah,
tree.
we got X number of years invested in that tree now. So.
Yep. So, and then the other tree that's, I'll say, down in front of the Macedonia Church will remain, and then obviously the trees down in front of the Firehouse Museum will remain.
But are there any existing now, since that one is gone in front of CCA? There's only one remaining there. Is there an additional one that you are going to have to remove?
We're going to, no.
Not that
Well,
one?
well, because the one that got hit,
Yeah, well, that had to
that,
be removed.
that was the only other one that was
Okay.
going to have to be removed, but it kind of,
That's what I thought.
somebody helped us.
Yeah.
Inadvertently, not on purpose. But, so there's a total of 5 proposed new trees on that. I just want to report that back to, because I know that was
Yeah.
when
So at the end
you
of the
guys
day-
saw that initial draft plan, there was a little bit of a difference, so.
There were no trees.
So at the end of the day, Paul, it will be a net gain then?
So if you look at this and that project, we'll have a net gain of 4 trees that we'll be planting as part of both
The
projects.
species of trees has been already decided?
So there, the landscape architect is proposing, she told me, she wrote it down on here, so I just got to find it. Ginkgo biloba.
They're fine. They're all going to be the same?
Well, I asked her, I mean, the ones on the Macedonia Church and the library side, because the trees on the other side are underneath power lines, I asked her to maybe look at a different species that maybe wasn't as tall growing
Power-
because
yeah.
of the power lines.
Yeah.
So that was, I asked her to kind of, so on the 3 trees, I'll say on the Sturdy Savings AME Church side, I've asked her to relook at that to pick a species
Yeah.
that will not
Right.
get the height
Yeah,
that the
because
ginkgo
those-
would.
the ginkgo
Ginkgos would
be
get,
very vertical.
right, and won't get into those power lines, and I'd rather,
Yeah.
even if, I'd rather get a smaller,
Yeah,
Right.
no,
Tree.
no Bradford pears.
yeah. Well, they're not on the list. Why would I
Bradford
even,
pear.
why would you even have to
Yeah.
talk about that?
Yeah.
Oh, I think there is a Bradford pear on the.
Well, it's
And so we-
existing.
It's an existing, and we were probably going to take that out and swap it out.
That would be fine.
I wasn't even counting that because
It's in
it's not a
decline.
tree. So.
As most of them are.
So those are the 2 updates I wanted to give.
Paul,
All right, thank you.
wasn't there a seating area in front of the school that was going to be?
So that we couldn't do, so what we're going to do is on the sidewalk area that exists, that's going up to the library, we're going to put benches along that sidewalk area that's going up there. There's not going to be a newly created
Okay.
That's not
sidewalk
gonna-
area.
Not going to affect that large mature tree. It's
No.
in front of the-
No.
And we had also talked about, when you and I walked that, about another tree on the grounds of the Franklin Street School. That's not going to be in the landscape plan?
It's not at this point. I mean, there's, oh, you're talking about in front of the school?
On the school lawn itself?
I have to, we're doing some street trees out there, but not up in the lawn at this point. We may, but at this point, we're just going to put the street trees out.
Okay. And those would be the ginkgo on that side?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good choice for a tree.
Yeah.
And
So that's what I had.
thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
And speaking of Bradford pear trees, at 20 Patterson, the owner came in and said that he was going to, he's acceded to our request to put in Tupelo trees at 20 Patterson tree, and either replace the 2 Bradford pears he put in, or put the Tupelo trees on the Patterson Avenue side.
Are they
I
in?
went by there
No,
again
they-
today.
No, they're still not in.
They're not in, that's 2 weeks now, and the
Wow.
Bradford pears are still there.
Yeah, so I did send him a letter.
Another letter?
After the last meeting, I sent him a violation notice, and he responded to Connie that he's going to replace those trees. I've checked every day.
Yeah, they're still,
Yeah, they're still not in. Well, it's up, that's probably being held up by the supplier or whatnot, or a landscaper, but so I'd say give it a couple more weeks. Because he's still got plenty of time to plant trees in there for the fall, so.
But did you say he's now decided to move the Bradford pears?
No, and I don't know what he's gonna do. I don't care whether he removes the Bradford Pear. Bradford pears are on his property. When not something we would recommend any more Bradford pears, for one reason or another. But we're not gonna tell people to take, Shade Tree is not gonna tell them to take trees down on private property. That's really gonna be up to him. He also put in a couple of trees, landscape arborvitae or Leland cypress trees to hide the electrical outlet thing on the side, which is a mistake. I can see where I'm around the pool, it makes a good screen, but he's gonna wind up with problems in the fullness of time, planting those trees too close to the house. But, that's his situation. But no, I don't care. I suggested in a note that he plants the trees between the ornamental fence and the sidewalk, on his property, on Patterson. So we'll see what happens.
You've done a good job on that, Jay.
Pardon?
Really paid attention to
Yeah.
that.
Oh, letters. Letters to be signed by the Shade Tree Commission. I suggest that the only two people authorized to send letters on our stationery in violation or suggestions or warnings or whatever would be myself and my deputy commissioner, George. You can write a letter, suggested letter, and send it to us. It will, then we'll use it and come off under our
Authority.
our signatures, me, and then in my absence, you.
Okay.
Now, that brings us to Jackson Street.
Right.
Okay, you said that there was a letter on Jackson Street about, is it 26 Jackson Street?
26 or 24? 24, I thought it was 24.
24 Jackson Street that still had Christmas lights?
No, that's two different issues. The Christmas lights were in front of the Virginia Hotel, which is 25 Jackson.
They're gone.
They were removed.
Okay.
And there's nothing you could do about the severe pruning that was done at this point. But this is 24 Jackson Street. There's no Christmas lights. It was that they trimmed that street tree. And
Should we send a note to them?
I think Connie did you not?
I haven't, and I was told not to send it yet until we straightened out the address.
That's the address, 24.
Okay, you want me to take a look at the letter? Oh, you're gonna have to open it?
We also have a situation, and I thought I brought this up before, but we didn't really address that. I think they were called, but I don't think they were sent a formal letter, if I recall correctly. There's a property at the corner of, it's not my district. It's Madison Avenue and I think New York? Maybe Maryland. Yeah, but they're, yeah. Right. Okay. Well, but the point,
This is
and
good.
thank you for that, but the thing I want to get
You want
to,
me to sign it? Sure. Okay.
the thing I want to get to with that is, those trees are so severely chopped, they're actually crabapple. I don't know if we should take them out. I don't believe we planted those and put 3 different trees in there,
Thanks.
if that's something we want to think about. Whose district is that anyway?
Jay is covering
It's
that
Jay.
right now with the absence.
Where is
of,
it?
Madison in New York.
Madison and New York. No, Madison and
Madison and
Maryland.
Maryland.
Madison and
That's fine.
Maryland.
That's
Yeah.
fine. I got everything south of Cape May, the south side of Cape May Avenue.
So we're discussing that property at the corner where their crabapple trees were pruned by the landscaper, and they're just about 3.5 feet tall at this point, with a little thing on top.
Very familiar with it. I walk past it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my question is, do you think that's something we should look into? I don't think we planted them there, but since it's city right-of-way, should we replace those trees in the fall? Or,
George, what's the likelihood that those trees will live?
they'll survive, but I just can't imagine what the
What they're gonna look
branch
like.
structure is going to be like. I mean, they're not going to branch any further up than that. They're,
They're like little balls.
yeah, they're like,
So should we not replace them?
I would say replace them, if anything, because those are not going to be,
So you're talking about the corner of Madison and Cape May Avenue
no,
No?
not Cape May Avenue. It's Madison and
And
Maryland.
Maryland.
and Maryland, okay.
Yeah. Because the trees on Maryland have not been trimmed. The street trees, they're fine.
So these trees have been damaged by the homeowner adjacent to this area
The
you're talking about?
landscaper,
The
yeah.
Landscapers?
Landscaper.
What happens when is there any code against people trimming these trees?
The only thing I've dealt with since I've been here is like you see people trimming the trees, you remind them, hey, I know you think that's your property, because people trying to take care of the trees when they're growing, that only street trees can only be touched by public works, like we just kind of just educate them about that.
Right.
This particular one, the tree was chopped pretty good.
Yeah.
So I had made a point to talk to the person, say, are you aware? They apparently have only owned the property like 2 years.
Okay.
Had all their trees done, trimmed up, and the landscaper did then as well.
But Shane, I think your question is, can a violation be issued?
Well, that's what I would suggest in the fall. And maybe out of courtesy, we could send them a letter saying the trees were damaged, the city is replacing them.
I did issue a violation
Cease and
notice.
desist from,
That's more or less.
yeah.
Right, because without setting precedent and
I
having
would
some type of
suggest
a
so, yeah,
penalty,
that the trees
this will
be
just
replaced.
continue. I mean, word gets around, people talk, don't worry about it, there'll be nothing to pay anyhow, so just, deal with the slap on the wrist and we move on. So, if we're not setting any kind of a precedent when issues like this take place, what is the purpose?
Especially when they kill the tree. I mean,
Right.
it's the same as chopping it down in my perspective. They should have to pay a fine for killing a street tree, or at least pay for it to be replaced.
I think the issue was with that is, I love trees, but I'm not the most knowledgeable guy with trees. I keep somebody from cutting down a tree, but that was brought to my attention. I mean, I just kind of advised them what to do as far as writing somebody a summons. To be honest with you, I've written one in 3 years. I try not to. I try to get people to comply. I'm not opposed to doing that, especially if somebody's not compliant. But with that situation, they did it once, they damaged the tree. It only takes one real good, trees are one of those things. But if they trim them again next year, or if we have to do something, then that would definitely be an option, just not something we try to do.
Okay, so
Well, I would
the
sug-
warning is already on file, and then the next action would be different.
That's normally
Okay.
how we do things, but again, if I thought they were killing a tree, I wouldn't have addressed it a little bit.
Right.
I didn't know that until I'm here sitting and go,
Yeah.
I don't need to get a tree.
I mean, technically, the trees are not dead, they're just no longer a tree.
Jim, you walk by that
They're
every
a
day?
bush.
I do.
If that,
How bad does it look?
Just pretty much what George explained. It's a tree that looks like it'll probably survive, but I'm assuming, from my own knowledge, so Matt, maybe you can fill me in. So when I walk past these trees that I see that are, the main trunk goes up, it gets to a point where all of a sudden it tapers down from, let's say, a 10-inch diameter down to a little 3-4-inch diameter, all at one spot. Is that what had happened at one time? Was topped like that? Because I've seen trees like that around. It amazes me when I look at it. I say, what could cause that, other than maybe a situation like this,
Yeah.
of topping it?
Jim, would you be supportive of removing those damaged trees and replacing?
I think we should all take a look at that if that's the direction you want to go.
yeah.
I mean, if you want.
I would
Yeah, and then
suggest
maybe
that direction,
entertain
too.
that at the next meeting and.
What's
you know.
that, what's that address again?
Well, it's going to be the
1001
northeast corner of Madison
in Maryland.
and Maryland.
It's 1000
It's
1001
It
Maryland.
has green trim on the house.
Yeah, it's a
That's
nice
about the
house.
best
I
I
mean,
can describe it.
it's nicely maintained property. I'm not, that's not any of my,
So we'll look,
It's those
we'll look
street
at it
trees.
and then take some action.
And then entertain that next meeting,
Okay,
right?
good.
Yeah, I'd like to get everybody's opinion on it, obviously. And again, George, keep in mind, it's not my district. It's my neighborhood that I walk through
but
because
you
it's right down the
walk
street
there.
from me.
Right. Oh,
Right,
it's-
right.
Those are cherry trees.
I thought they were crabapple, but I'm not,
No, I think they're,
Are they
they
cherry?
didn't bloom this year, but.
well,
they
then,
bloomed the year
they don't have any
before.
branches
Not
to
going to
bloom
bloom
on.
this year.
All right.
They're like pygmy trees.
Now, at the last meeting, we discussed the different type of tree species, and we do have the list of what is suggested here, City of Cape May's tree list. We need to update and expand some suggestions and eliminate some others. Several of us spoke a little bit about it, and I think the way we have to go is come up with a small subcommittee like we did for the redoing of the ordinance. Like, there's beautiful trees listed on here. I couldn't begin to imagine where you'd find them. You know, I've never dealt with any of the trees, like pignut hickory and, you know, just a mockernut hickory and shagbark hickory. Beautiful trees, but I don't know where the heck you'd get them.
More
they're not
more
commonly-
importantly, with your knowledge, is there anything that you're opposed to that you see on this list?
If I saw the purple leaf plum, which I don't, I would be opposed to that one too, and also the Japanese tree lilac. They, has those? Yeah. I can check and see, but they're not typical wood. But anyway, right now, what's on here, I don't really have objections to, but we have in the past, when the state came through under Cool Cities grant, that's about, what, 17, 18 years ago, they planted a bunch of species that were supposed to do really well in a seaside environment, one of which was the Japanese tree lilac. There's, to my knowledge, 3 of them left, and they're really struggling. I mean, they're
Yeah,
just...
most of those were planted east, in areas east of Madison Avenue.
Is there any economic concerns with the species of trees?
And they planted them
That's-
in the
Well,
monsoon.
some of these that are rare are going to be
They came
more,
down and they dug a hole.
they're gonna
They
cost
dug a
more
hole, put the
to
tree in,
purchase,
and they sunk.
other than that, no.
You know, they had planted a lot of trees and a lot of money, and they sunk into the hole because it was so wet when they planted them. So, and also, they cut on Pittsburgh Avenue, they cut a couple, those are buried electrical cables, they cut a couple electric lines, which was done in the wintertime when they put the trees in. And of course, the people didn't find out until they came down, found out that their refrigerators were defrosted and various other things like this. And other areas that had, what do you call it, subterranean plastic pipes in for irrigation in the street lawn, which is really not supposed to be done, but people put those in when they put the irrigation system in the lawns. We broke a bunch of those. And we got blamed for it, of course, because we're the Shade Tree Commission. It was actually the state that came in with their big augers and no call before you dig type of thing and put all those trees in. We thank them for the trees, because as I said, there's not a whole lot of them left.
No, no.
So be careful.
We
what
had
you
no
wish for.
say, we had no say in the species either. That was
Yeah,
another
there was
problem.
no say in the species. We had to beg to put some of the trees in the Mount Vernon area and whatnot, to get a couple of trees in some areas other than the ones that they wanted to, that the state wanted to put them in. So, all right.
But I'm saying, don't you think we need to come up with like a little subcommittee to discuss these tree species? Because we have to, for example, we just planted a number of species that aren't even, they're not on here.
I noticed some.
And yet they're
we discussed
native
aren't on this
species.
list.
And
Right.
they're-
And they're native species and they
they're
do well.
available. Look, would you be on the subcommittee?
Yeah.
Would you head up that subcommittee?
Sure.
And Jim,
I'm not the most knowledgeable guy when it comes to
it's
tree
the way to be,
species.
most knowledgeable, find out about it.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, I mean, yeah.
And,
I'd be happy to help.
okay, and Shane?
I'd like to do it too, Jay.
Okay.
Okay, two Georges and Jim.
I'll learn a lot from George.
Yeah, and then Shane will sit in on it.
And Shane.
Okay, all right.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
Well, you sat on, you. Okay. Yeah, Cape May Point is making sound. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they made a run at it several years ago, and they attended 1 or 2 meetings here. I don't know whether you scared them off or whatnot. They came back and said, no, we don't want to have a shade tree.
I heard they're having a, I heard they're gonna have shade tree ordinance now. Cape May Point, I heard that from Wayne. Okay.
Yeah, if you could forward that list, that'll be a big help. Thanks.
George, can I ask you a question? You're looking to shorten this list? Is that what you're?
Not necessarily shorten it, I mean, actually add to it. I'm
Add
just,
to the list.
yeah, because the trees that I would be in objection to, I don't see even listed on here.
The
Like
tree
red,
that Paul had mentioned for the city
the
project.
ginkgo?
Yeah, that's not on here, correct?
No,
That's not on here. Okay.
no. Well, we're saying if people come in, we're having some residents plant their own trees in city right-of-way, which,
With approval, you know.
but we've had them plant trees. There was a tree at a renovated house on Hughes Street last year. They put in a purple leaf plum, which I certainly would not, that's not on the list. I would certainly not approve those either. And then we just had a person on, I think it's Massachusetts, I forget, they planted 2 Bradford pear in the city right-of-way. And we discussed this last time, and I said, what do we do in that case? Should we ask them to remove those trees, or how do we proceed with that? I mean, I'm sure they did it thinking they were doing a good thing, but, you know, we're trying to eliminate the Bradford pear to begin with, and, you know, and this way we'd had a list to say, hey, plant this instead, you know, or these trees. Yeah.
Yes.
And even private property, too, because sometimes we have... I don't think that's part of our ordinance, is it?
What's that?
If people remove trees from their private property,
They have to get, if it's 3 inches or more,
right,
measured 4.5 feet above, in diameter, measured 4.5 feet above ground, they need a permit.
right, no, but we're talking about to replace those trees. We don't have that as part of our ordinance, to replace them.
Yes, they need to replace.
Yeah, yes, we do.
Oh, we do?
If there's a construction project
No, I
and
don't think there's-
X number of trees are removed because it's in the footprint of the construction project, they must replace tree for tree. I mean, we don't charge them to replace those trees because it's in the
Right.
hole, in the driveway or the garage, but they've got to replace the trees on the property. If there's no room to replace the trees, they replace the ones they can, and they have to pay us the value of the tree that we can use to
Purchase.
purchase trees to plant somewhere else. That's
in there.
in the ordinance. But,
Is that what they use their tree list for?
Yes.
Okay.
You'll give a tree back, because they're saying a tree, they
yeah,
can't fulfill the replanting request, they can donate to the tree bank.
right, to the tree bank, yes.
Okay.
All right. So you guys are going to take a look and just see what you have to add to this, which the trees that are available.
Yep.
All right, coming up this Thursday at 1 o'clock is the Book Brigade.
Yeah.
We're going to move the books from the library on Ocean Street to the new library here on Franklin. In 1982, I was involved in that as a member of the Vintage Homes Association, Chamber of Commerce, Mid-Atlantic Center for the Arts, Ladies Red Hat Society, school kids, wedding, here at the church right next to City Hall. And we moved the trees, we moved the books from the basement of City Hall, where the library was, to the telephone switch building on Ocean Street. It was quite an event. And I remember being in front of the church here, and Methodist Church, when the wedding party came out, the whole bridal party, the bride, the groom, the bridal party, and the guests got involved in the line. We were handing books back and forth. And we did it for about 2.5, 3 hours. Started to get a little cold. Thank God it started to mist up and rain a little bit, and we were able to, we got a lot of the books involved, but then the Kiwanis Club and the city Public Works, I think, then finished the rest of the move. So this is going to be more of a symbolic thing coming up at 1 o'clock. I suggest we meet here in the parking lot of, those of us who can make it, meet here in the parking lot of the City Hall and get in line someplace to pass some books back and forth. It's a good little city organization. I think the Shade Tree should be involved in that. So come this Thursday at 1 o'clock if you can, okay?
Tell your friends and family. Bring friends and family members, too.
Bring what?
Friends and family members.
Oh, bring friends and family members, okay. And yes, they've done it, they're going to do it while school is still in session, because they're going to have the elementary school students coming and get in line then, too. All right. And the only other business that we have that I know of is this application for the tree removal
Oh, wait.
permits.
But Jay, before you move on to that, Jay,
Pardon? Yes.
I'm pretty sure Matt Notch is here to speak in the absence of the homeowner of 1102 Lafayette? Yes.
All right, come on up. Press the button.
Jim, that's your district, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna pull up their, do you know their address off the top of your head?
1102.
1102.
1102 what?
Lafayette.
Lafayette
Thank you.
Sorry, I just had it up here. I believe it's Marty and Val Carlin,
Correct.
1102 Lafayette Street, at this corner of Skellinger Street and Lafayette Street. Jay, you're familiar with that
Right.
property?
You visited the
Old
property
Prim-
with me, Jay.
The old,
You were there.
We spoke
I
about
forget the old name of that house, the corner of Skellinger Street and Lafayette Street.
That's
It's changed
the
owner.
Primrose or something.
Primrose.
Oh,
There were some
okay.
majestic trees there. A lot of trees have come down during construction, I guess all approved. My family lives a few houses away, so they're very familiar with the project. And so they're really nice people that have the property now, but, and I think they're trying to preserve what's left, but unfortunately, the contractors they have there have damaged some of the trees pretty significantly. And I don't know if there's an ordinance or even a way of holding other contractors liable of damage in trees on property. Is it specifically for tree work? Be code enforcement. So, and I thought, I mean, West KMA, we have requirements before any construction, demolition, anything where trees have to be protected with some type of barricade.
That's new to us now.
So that was
We are
not,
requiring that now, but it wasn't.
it was a month ago?
Maybe a couple months ago.
It's been
Yeah, by March,
I think it was, because this is recent damage, about a month ago. And I was informed through a concerned neighbor, I'll just leave it at that, and that they were really upset about what was happening because they grew up a few houses away. And they sent pictures of the contractor with a loader driving through 4 75-year-old locust trees, ripping up an old walkway, historic walkway, and damaging the roots significantly on all 4 trees. The one tree to the point that I recommend it be removed, not that I want it removed, but now the tree is hazardous, and maybe they need to get a formal assessment by, like, Mickey Reagan's our board-certified tree expert, but there's such significant root damage in the proximity of the house, the tree's potentially hazardous, and there was old damage from construction years ago that the tree healed, but they went through there with a loader and they damaged not only that tree, but the other 3 trees.
Mr. Notch, was that the one where they were back there removing a bunch of bamboo and stuff too? Was that?
No.
No, this is right, really close to Lafayette Street, near would be like the northwest corner of that house. There's 4 large locust trees, each tree's about this wide, and they had a walkway that went through each trees. I'm sure the trees were little at the time when they put the walkway in, but now the trees are mature, and they went and ripped out that sidewalk, not very cleanly. They just took equipment in there, and ripped it out. They could have
So-
went in there.
When you say a loader, I'm assuming you're talking about like a Bobcat
A
size.
large bobcat on tracks.
Large
yeah,
bobcat,
with,
right.
I don't know, probably with a bucket on it, I'm assuming, because they just
Okay.
went through, there's direct damage on the trunks of the tree where they banged.
So even if we had, in this situation, a tree protection zone set up,
They
right,
would never been in there with equipment
they would have to go in there and
By hand.
remove this by hand?
by hand.
Correct.
None of that damage would have happened.
Exactly, okay. So now we're past that point, and
Now
so
we're
we have
past
to
that
deal
point.
with the situation at hand.
And they're disappointed, and the contractor, his defense, he was a little annoyed because it wasn't part of the contract supposedly, and the homeowner came down to see all the things going on and asked for them to finish ripping the sidewalk, because they had stopped before that point, because I think they knew they'd get into trees. So I think he was ticked off, jumped on the machine, and went in there and started going at it.
Okay, so I have some photos that I had taken, and I'm hoping that there won't be further damage because this request was put in.
Right.
In my response, I did say that I took photos of the existing damage to the roots, to the trunk. So let's hope that there's not further damage, because I denied the request at this point in time.
You're right.
One of the reasons also why I denied the request was because there are 4 trees in a group, and the request was put in very vaguely, with the request of, was it this tree, that tree, was it all 4 trees, was it one? There was no specification as to what tree we were talking about. So I guess you would have a little more knowledge in which specific tree they're talking about?
It was actually, the removal request was my suggestion to them because of the amount of root damage on that one tree closest to the house. They severed all the buttress structural roots on the backside of that tree, and now that tree is compromised to fall right into the
So
northeast
we're
side
looking
of
at the
house.
trees, so when you
close-
say closest to the house, so there's
Side.
2 that are obviously further away to the east, and the other 2 that are to the west of that grouping are the 2 closest. But now, what are we talking, north or south of those 2
Be
trees?
like the southeast. It'd be so they're like, they're formed like a square.
Okay,
So
yeah,
it would be-
right.
It would be the tree closest to the Physic Estate.
Closest to the physical.
Challenger Street,
Okay,
closest to Washington Street.
Jim,
okay.
this is the property that we
Yes, it
visited
is.
together, right?
That is correct. Yep.
And they brought in their,
And to speak about history of that, Jay, as you know, we were very generous to them, and we
Let 'em-
agreed that 4 of 5 trees were to come down, and that 5th tree did come down. We didn't follow up. It was sort of on the border of a neighboring property. It wasn't the best tree to deal with. It was completely overtaken with ivy. There was a lot of dead limbs on it already. But we sort of let that go. Now, did they have knowledge that that tree came down? I don't know. But it's another reason in my denial at this point is that I'd really like to have the homeowner come. We would like to speak to them. Why did they allow this damage to happen to these perfectly matured trees? And again, be a little more specific in your request. The request was not specific at all. So I don't know if one of the homeowners, the husband or wife or whoever, or if you're just going to speak for them, but then we would need to get more clarity as to what they're looking
And
at.
I'm definitely not speaking for them. I'm just trying to fill you in on some of the details because they asked me for my opinion and an estimate on doing the work, which I gave them. And it's unfortunate, I think they're honestly unaware of the amount of damage done on the trees. Yeah.
I see a lot of
They're kind of-
exposed roots. I have the pictures here.
They're just left with they're in a bad position now, leaving that tree. They're not putting the walkway back in there as far as my understanding is.
Okay.
I think they're.
There is still some concrete, at this time, there was still concrete to be removed also.
She was trying to get here at the meeting. She's got some medical problems. She called me
Okay.
yesterday.
So I do have a photo of what was the damage at that time. I'd have to go find the date, May 14th. And I see damage to the main trunk, even at a height of about maybe 5 to 6 feet up, so that even got hit at that point. And then a lot of the exposed roots, and some of them you can see actually cut. I'm assuming that's the tree, because that would be this tree that is now in that group of 4, the one that is closest to the home on the street side, closest to Physic Estate, as you put it, right? Okay. And that's the one tree. The other 3 trees, they're not asking for removal.
No, and there's not that much significant damage in those trees that would probably validate removing them by any means. They'll probably have some dieback, they'll probably need some pruning in a couple of years, but the one closest to the house, I'm concerned that it could potentially fall over into the side of their house. Feel free to, if you require them to have like Mickey or a board-certified tree expert do a formal evaluation on them, he'll probably recommend a removal, but I can't speak for that person. But maybe insist that they do that and require that they replace. They are, at least Kern Hershey, they're proposing to do a really nice landscape, from what she was telling me, a lot of trees and pretty landscape, and I honestly don't know if they will, but they say they are, so. I just told her I would come here and
Oh, it's nice of you.
tell you what I knew. and,
Appreciate it,
uh,
yeah, and you gave a lot of
Oh,
information.
believe me, I was ticked off because I pulled up and I pulled all the contractors, stopped the job. And I had the GC there, the mason there.
It's a beautiful group of trees, it really
the
is.
other,
It's nice.
The other paver guy was there, and the mason guy kind of had at it with me. He didn't like how I was talking to him, and all I was calling him on what he did. He's like, I did that, was there a problem with it? And I'm like, yeah, there's a problem with what you're doing. And,
Right.
and I explained to them they're not allowed to do that around trees, and there's supposed to be a protection zone around trees. And the GC was unaware of that, so I don't know, maybe suggestion that anybody's doing building in Cape May, that they're notified that they're, have to put protection zones around trees prior to doing this work. We did that in West Cape May.
We've
That is
notified
the new
all the
ordinance.
contractors
the best that we could, and they all know now. And if they're in violation, they'll get fined, and they'll put a stop work order on.
So,
Maybe we should put the code on the application. Please review the code before
yeah.
pursuing any work,
So we
because
should-
you're responsible.
Is it too late in the ballgame to have them put some type of protection zone around it at
The
this
damage
point?
is done. That's got to be happening for.
But just to make sure that no more damage is done.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you're going to go across the board, do it with all the building sites.
Should we ask that Arbor Corps Resources, Arbor Care Resources, Mickey Riggins come in?
I guess that would be more up to you, Jay, because that's a budgetary thing, right? Because there is,
We're not
Yes.
going to
Yeah,
pay for
put
it.
it
But
on.
wait,
Have the-
I don't think we should be,
Oh.
just a minute, Jay, I don't think we should be required to fund that.
No, I think.
That should
that's
fall
up to
back
the-
onto the homeowner.
so to put that on the homeowner?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
All right.
you have to have,
Yeah.
an arborist on paper. In New Jersey, you have to be a licensed tree care expert to be a legal consultant. So I can say whatever I want here. It doesn't
Yeah,
hold any weight
we
in
understand
court.
that, right.
If you have a licensed tree care expert and Mickey says that tree's got to come down, you're going to be sort of like, we have to let them take it
Right,
down.
understood.
But they also have to make that effort too, I think. You know, he may say, oh, well, let's cut it back and do some root pruning and manage it over a few years and see what happens. I mean, he may say that, I don't know.
Right, right. And that would be the homeowner's responsibility to follow
Their
up.
decision.
So we'd have to draft a letter and send that to the homeowner. That's, how else would we inform them?
That's the only way I can see. it.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I'll also inform them that they need to be much more specific in their request of what tree we're actually talking about, right. Okay.
Write me up a proposal, a letter. Write me up a
Yeah.
proposal letter that I can. that I can
Absolutely,
draft
yeah,
and send.
as we said earlier, I can't sign it, but I would write it
Right,
up, and
I'll
then
send
you
it.
guys would review it, and one of the two of you would sign
All
it.
right.
Okay.
But we'll, in the letter, we want to suggest that that they hire a certified tree expert to, look at the damage done to the tree and determine if the tree is still remains viable.
Mickey Riggins does all our assessments in West Cape May.
Well, he's we're under like a retainer to us. We call him when we need him on something like this. But the homeowner can hire anybody that they want,
As long as they're
As long as-
Yeah, as
certified.
long as they're a tree expert.
as long as they're a certified tree.
Well, that's what the letter would have to address. You'd have to have that specified in the letter.
Yeah, certified tree.
Yeah.
expert.
That's what K-May Point's doing right now. They're
Pardon?
requiring that. K-May Point's doing exactly that right now. They're requiring that a licensed tree care expert
But they're not specific.
evaluate the tree removal request.
Right, okay.
So we do that in West Cape May. We actually pay Mickey for each one.
Right.
We absorb that in the
We
permit.
wind up doing that too, but only if there's a dispute. I mean, we'll take your word, we'll take Meneer's word and stuff like this, and then every once in a while, the homeowner will hire a certified tree expert to come in and say, no, it's got rot in it, it has to come down. And so we kind of, once that is said by a certified tree expert, we give the approval to take a tree down. In my heart of hearts, I believe that the tree could probably remain for another 20 or 30 years, but, it could fall over tomorrow, so. All right.
The last thing I can say is I'd encourage the shade tree zoning, whoever's going to like enforcement on the protection of the
Yeah.
critical root zone of these trees. I mean, it's not rocket science to put a barricade X amount of distance around these trees prior to all demolition.
It's all
And
in the new ordinance. We just have to start enforcing it, but
No.
it's in the new ordinance.
And
Is that something, or that's yours, that's, protecting the tree roots
I
on
have to
trees,
leave.
that's,
I have my
you're just
property manager
specifically.
Okay.
waiting for me about the
We're going to be leaving here.
Jay, just a minute. I was going to bring this up, actually, too. I rode my bike down Hughes Street. I don't know whose district that is either, but that house that, they're doing a complete renovation with, they were supposed to not damage any trees and stuff. But there is no protective barrier around any tree that I saw, and there's all equipment in the back of that property. It's the block right below Franklin. It's like 3 houses down from
Yeah,
Franklin.
that's Newford.
Huge, very large home that's only,
Yep.
yeah,
That's
right.
Eric Newford's cut.
Right, but yeah, they hadn't used it in years, but anyway. But I don't see any protective barriers around those trees either, if I recall correctly.
So who addresses that? Here we are, we're in the middle of the project.
Call code
Will be
enforcement.
code
Code
enforcement.
enforcement?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I don't know whose district is that.
Hughes.
Hughes Street?
Probably,
No, it's not me.
Probably Barbara.
I cut off on there. But I
Well,
have,
we can make that call, too.
I have one
I
on
would think.
Sewell that I have to do that
Because
with.
she left, and I'll pass there on the way home. And
I'm
if it's
sorry,
still
it's
not
at
like,
504 Jefferson.
oh, that's happening there, too?
Oh.
See, will that,
Did you ride your bike into
Yeah.
here? We'll take a bike ride together through there.
Okay.
Jay, can I bring up one point before we adjourn?
Jay?
Yes.
Can I just,
Yes.
it's a food for thought, it won't take a lot of time. It's my understanding that there used to be a tree inventory list maintained by the city, and that list does not exist anymore.
that's correct.
I've got the list. We did an inventory about 5 years ago.
Okay.
I've got a spreadsheet with all the trees. In my district, I don't know whether I have it for all of the
I'm talking
districts.
citywide.
No, I
It
don't.
it might have all the districts in it.
Well, I think
Do
we.
you want it?
Oh, yes. Because I think we'll need a document like that to evaluate, net gain, net loss, and just the entire strategy going forward of how we handle trees being planted, trees out of the tree bank,
Right.
and then keep that list up to date
Yep.
in a secure location.
Connie should
I think
definitely
that's a
have that
good idea.
list. Connie should have that in our list or files, I think that's important.
That's the only thing I have.
I see.
And also, I think that list would also
Yeah, good.
tell us what trees are more successful in town as well, you know what I'm saying?
So one last thing with this tree removal permit. Jay, you said you will discuss this next month?
I think that's a good, we should talk about it at the August
All right.
meeting.
Okay. You mean July,
July.
July, rather, yeah.
unless you're canceling it.
No. Yeah, let's hold the application, the tree removal permit discussion until next month. I think we've done enough damage today.
Okay.
I'll let the homeowner know that they need to, I'll let the homeowner know that they need to report to maybe our licensed tree expert. So if they want to get on the agenda for next month, they have that.
Okay, so I'm not gonna, we won't, should we still
I
make
think
a
we
letter?
should
out
still,
to
yeah, I
them?
think we should still write up the letter, sure, why not? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
inform them today, but tell them they'll be receiving a letter.
Yeah, we
receive a
appreciate
letter.
that.
We'll
Thank
just
you.
Go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah,
Write
yeah.
me up something and give me a call, and we'll,
Okay.
okay, I think, and we'll put this tree removal permit on next month's agenda, okay?
All right.
All right. That's all I have?
I don't think I can make a motion anymore, can I?
Yeah, you,
Can I?
yeah, you,
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second that.
all those in favor? Aye.
Good meeting.
Thank you very much for coming, appreciate it.
Grab you until you get that.
Okay.